Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. It's Matt. Good to be with you here tonight. Hope you guys had a nice weekend. Nice weekend weather-wise. We had temperatures both Saturday and today up into the upper 50s. It was very comfortable for this time of year. If you remember back in early October, we were monitoring and doing I did a little digging in terms of stats, in terms of how many nice fall weekends we have. And we averaged over the last 6 or 7 years. I think I went back 7 years just because I got tired of doing the stats after that. But it came out to be about 25% of our fall weekends are nice. And by nice, I mean it's not a snowstorm and we don't have a ton of rain, or it's not bitter cold, right? So you can get outside and do stuff. Okay. So knowing that, we had, I think, one nice weekend in October, and we just had one right in November. So where do we go from here? That's the big question. We'll see how that holds. But overall, it was nice to get in a great weekend here across the region. Hope you guys are doing well. Mark's with us. Good morning to you, Mark. He always says morning, sir. Love it. Jeff, good evening to you. Gail's with us. Don Z, thanks for joining us. Mark's wondering what the weather will be like for Election Day Tuesday. Looks great, Mark. It really does. Rain chance comes in late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Doesn't look like much either. Jeff says got the Christmas decorations put up outside. Won't turn on till after Thanksgiving. Jeff, so smart. We got the bins out this weekend. We have a couple winter trees that we put in. Anytime we get the first snow, we're going to start doing like snow trees inside just for the kids to get them excited, and it looks nicer too. But the outdoor decorations, you are ahead of it. That is so smart to get it up this weekend. And finally, Tom says these nice fall days are truly bonus days. They really are, Tom. Just gorgeous, gorgeous weather. All right, I want to jump into the forecast here. As always, well, let me add myself. That way you can notice that it's not a computer talking to you. As always, want to thank our sponsors up above. We'll start with Tiger Plumbing. Guys, if you need a plumber, Tiger Plumbing is the place to go. They're local, family owned. Everyone loves them. It's tigerplumbing.net. And they wanted me to send an announcement to you, a public service announcement. And this is great advice. The outdoor spigots on your house, if you have not shut those off yet, as we get into colder weather, you're going to want to do that. All right. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. You probably do that every year, and this can just be your reminder for that. But the outdoor spigots need to be shut off. And you need to turn the water line off that goes out to them. Okay. It should be close inside in your basement, wherever it happens to be that goes to that outside. You want to shut those off. You also want to drain it. So shut it off, shut off your line inside, open the spigot, drain the water out of there, then turn it off. That's the way to do it. You can also wrap them up. They got covers for them as well to keep those water lines from freezing in the winter. And they also, they didn't tell me to say this, but that's taking business away from Tiger Plumbing. That's who they are. They're giving you tips to prevent leaks, all right? Leaks are how they do business, right? So I just think that speaks volumes to who they are. I know Jeff personally, who owns a company, and they're just wonderful. I'll tell you that. So tigerplumbing.net. PSA, that's our public service adjusters in Northwest Indiana. If you have any claims, whatever that happens to be, even if it's something like a break-in or some theft or vandalism or whatever it happens to be, or a tree just falls on your neighbor's fence or something and you're being blamed for that, any property claims whatsoever, go to publicserviceadjusting.com first. They're local, licensed, insured. They will serve as the go-between between you and your insurance company, and they have proof with how much more money they've gotten people just by going through them. It's publicserviceadjusting.com. stjudehouse.org, our nonprofit in Northwest Indiana, doing wonderful work in the region around domestic violence, which isn't a pretty issue whatsoever. They have a mobile advocacy program. Basically, they go out in the public. They'll meet victims or people that just need help wherever they happen to be, wherever they want to go, and they help them in any way they need. So please support them, stjudehouse.org. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. They have brand new electric Jeeps, which are just awesome on the lot right now. Make sure you get your next Chrysler Dodge Jeep or Ram at Grieger's. And finally, welcome back as a sponsor, Ewing Mechanical Services. They do everything HVAC related to your house. They're wonderful as well. A lot of rave reviews about them. They've got an offer right now, 0% financing for 60 months. That's a long time on new systems. Plus you get free whole house humidifier, which I like. Indoor environment, you want it to stay humid, not too humid, but just right enough. And that's what they do. You get a free whole house humidifier and an ecobee Wi-Fi thermostat. Both those two things for free with an all-new furnace or AC system package. So there's that. And they do great work around HVAC, which is your indoor environment. So let's focus on the outdoor environment. After a nice weekend, kind of where do we go from there? That's going to be the big question. So looking big picture across the country right now, there's a lot going on. This is a very busy weather map. We've got a system that's moving in now. There's another one off the West Coast. There's another one up towards the Gulf of Alaska. So they're lining up. But the thing I want you to take away from this map is everything is moving from west to east. There's nothing going up into Canada. There's nothing coming out of Canada. There's nothing really coming out of the Gulf of Mexico aside from this little stream of moisture down towards Texas. There's just no big movement north and south. So this is what we mean when we say zonal flow. It's from west to east across the country. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm bored with zonal flow, okay? It is the most boring weather pattern. I mean, it can be exciting, but you don't get big temperature differences. Everything's kind of flat across the country. It's not that there's instability here and there, but zonal flow does not produce big storm systems. And as a meteorologist, we're getting locked into this pattern. We started last week. We're going to eventually get out of it as we get in the extended. I'll show you that. But this is a pretty boring weather pattern. So if you like benign weather, you like quiet weather with maybe some rain here and there, zonal flow is for you. And that's where we are right now. So everything moving west to east. It looks like this system out towards the west might stir things up. It won't. It's going to move west to east as well. So what's that mean for us? Very quick moving weather pattern. You get a lot of clouds that move quickly by, very changeable weather as well. And that's kind of where we're going to go. We've increased clouds tonight. We do have a shot at some rain as we go throughout the day tomorrow. It's very slim. You can see this system is mainly off towards the north. Everything's up towards the Canadian border right now. There is going to be heavy snow in Canada. Some of that gets into the lower 48, but I'm talking like northern Minnesota, Wisconsin. All the active weather stays toward north. So we get clipped by this system tomorrow. Again, slight chance of rain as this moves through. You can see most of the moisture's off towards the north. But again, could get a couple quick downpours. That's it. That heads by afternoon. We're golden tomorrow. So our chance of rain would really be actually overnight tonight. We have a little bit of a chance as well, but it'd be really tomorrow morning. We may have a scattering of some showers on radar. Again, most of that north. And then tomorrow afternoon's interesting because we turn the wind out of the south and it looks to be a warm day. As the system goes by, we're tapping into air from down by Texas. So I think upper 60s, but we'll go mid to upper 60s tomorrow. That's not a bad Monday, folks. It's really not. And again, those rain chances are going to be early in the day. After that system moves on out, eventually the cold front kind of drags south. So we turn slightly cooler around here on Tuesday. We're dry again for election day. And notice how as we get in the latter half of the evening, you're seeing the beginnings of yet another storm system on that quick zonal flow. That system starts to move in Tuesday night. That brings us another quick hit of perhaps some showers. But again, it doesn't look like anything organized. So let's go long term. I actually have a graphic for this. This is the Lone Ranger. I'm not going to play the music. I got a lot of complaints about the music last time. But this is when we're going to jump into long term, and we're going to call it the Long Ranger. Okay, there you I don't know. I'm trying, guys. I hope you know I try. Okay, I spent a lot of time on graphics. I came down here early tonight, like an hour and a half ago, to get some graphics together. That's where we're at. And thank you for everyone putting the weather questions in over there. We'll get to those at the end here, and I'm almost done, so we'll get to those quickly. All right, so let's go long term, shall we? Here's your system that zips through tomorrow. Again, slight chance of some showers. Most of it's north. And look at the snow up towards Canadian border. It's there. It's just not here, and that's okay. It's early, right? We're early November. That goes by. Here's your Tuesday evening system. Doesn't look like much, but there'll be a frontal boundary in the vicinity. So by late Tuesday, I would say, I would say after sunset, but the sunset's at like 4 now. So that doesn't tell you much. I would say probably 9, 10 o'clock at night, we have a risk of a shower, and it doesn't look like much. Euro doesn't think there's much going on with that. There's your risk. That carries into Wednesday morning. Again, that's along a frontal boundary, nothing that well organized, but some shower chances nonetheless. Once Wednesday gets by us, notice how we are kind of on the tail end of that storm system with a few more showers around here on Wednesday. And then on into the weekend, it looks cooler. All right. This system, as this goes by with just a couple showers, it'll pull cooler air in from Canada, but there's not much happening with that. So that goes by. Here's your cooler air settling in. Weak system to the north. Doesn't look like much for us on Thursday. This is Friday. System goes south. System goes north. Not much doing. It's just cooler. We'll probably be in the 40s as we get into your Friday. And then for Saturday, as we look ahead to next weekend, it's going to be cooler, but it looks to be dry as of right now. Temperatures will probably be in the 40s on Saturday. And then Sunday will start to moderate. Well, actually, the Euro doesn't say we moderate anymore. On the earlier run that I looked at, it had us moderating a little bit on Sunday, but it still looks to be cool on this latest run with perhaps some kind of quick moving clipper system that comes in here with mainly showers. I don't see anything else on there. And then after that goes by, we're kind of quiet. There's your moderation into next week as it looks right now. So that is a very quiet extended forecast. All right. Couple shower chances here and there, nothing organized, no big storm systems. There's going to be some wind out of these as they zip by, particularly tomorrow is going to be kind of a breezy day as the low goes by. Wind will back off on Tuesday. By Wednesday, the wind kicks up a little bit again as that next low comes in. Thursday, it's still a little gusty on the backside. And then on into the latter half of the weekend and next week, that's when the wind really looks to pick up out of the south when that warm up comes back. Okay. Last thing I want to show you, I want to talk global here. All right. So we understand why it's a zonal flow and why it's so boring. And are there going to be any changes? So this is where we're going to go out a good 10, 15 days. So what we're looking at here, this is the North Pole. All right. We're looking down at on the Earth, right, from the Northern Hemisphere. Here's the United States here, if you can't pick it out. Here's Alaska here. Here's Siberia over here. And then you've got Europe over here. What I want you to keep an eye on. So this is your jet stream is essentially where the green hits the yellow. Okay. And what we look for is little bubbles or lobes to kind of come down. All right. That makes it not zonal. Right now it's zonal because everything's from west to east. Keep an eye on Siberia. Okay. We're going to go through time here. This is today, tomorrow. This is Tuesday. You know, nothing happening here. There's no cold air coming into the areas of southern Canada. It's all up in northern Canada. There's a little hit here by Wednesday that comes into the Gulf of Alaska. That doesn't impact the lower 48 at all. We're now fast forwarding. This is Saturday. We're starting to see some changes by Saturday as we get it up into Canada. So watch this. As we head into this weekend and then next week, some real cold air up towards the North Pole looks to dislodge and head into Siberia. And if you've been around here long enough, you know that we tend to, in the wintertime, look towards Siberia because whatever builds there eventually comes east. That's one of the things we look for with Arctic outbreaks in the middle of January and February, right? We look at how cold that air is in Siberia, and then eventually that'll head into Alaska, and then eventually, usually, it comes from Alaska down into the lower 48. So what's interesting is, as we get into next week, some of this cold air kind of dislodges from the North Pole, and you can see it starting to build up into Siberia and then eventually kind of bleeding into Alaska, okay? This is the 15th of November. Eventually what happens, and again, I don't see any sign that this heads into the U.S. yet, but eventually what happens is this cold air really starts to build, and you see more wobbles in the jet stream here. We're no longer zonal. We now have a nice ridge, perhaps on into next week, into the week prior or the week after that as well, which means what goes up must come down at some point, all right? So what I'm trying to get at with this is the fact that there are changes in the weather pattern. We're not going to stay with this zonal flow forever. As we get into the 15th beyond, the 15th and beyond, that's when I start to see some changes happening out towards the west that will likely come east as we get somewhere in that time frame, whether it be the 20th of the month, somewhere around there, okay? It doesn't mean we're not going to have active weather. Next week, it does look like we bring more storm systems into the U.S. that have more of an impact. But in terms of anyone looking for a big snowstorm or anything like that, maybe it's just me. I do enjoy big storms. It does look like that's going to be some time off. Does that happen around Thanksgiving? That's the other thought I want to place with everybody is that, do we finally turn active around Thanksgiving? Is it a good thing that we're starting the month and going into the middle half of the month quiet? I don't know if it is because things could certainly change later this month. So that's that. Okay. And Mary, I see your question about Thanksgiving. So hopefully that kind of answers it. I do think we have a more active pattern and we could be dealing with some bigger storm systems Thanksgiving time. Okay. There you go. That's it. That's all I got for you. All right. Let's answer your questions. Then we'll get you on your way here on this Sunday night. Susan says, this is a good point. I hope you guys have survived the time change. She says, hope the time change does not bother the baby much. Susan, thank you very much. Here are my thoughts on the time change. No soapbox on this. If anyone has kids, the time change doesn't matter. All right. The kids do not change their time. So they were up at 6:30 this morning instead of 7:30. And they're going to bed, now, but it's still, it's late, so to speak. So they're going to be tired tomorrow regardless. The baby doesn't care. Baby's up baby Silas didn't sleep much today. He's now 2 weeks old, which is great. For those of you that don't know, and we have 3 other ones as well. So it's just a train wreck in this house. But he didn't sleep much today. We think he's going through a growth spurt, week 2, right? And we'll see what happens. He's been eating like crazy, and he's hungry every time. I mean, we're stuffing him full of food. It's great, but we'll see. He hasn't been sleeping much, so no, baby didn't care about time change, and we're still off on our time change as well. So our time changed 2 weeks ago. Okay. Carl asks, do you think it'll be too windy to burn yard waste tomorrow? Carl, that's a great question. I do think it's going to be too gusty to do that tomorrow. The relative humidity values aren't going to be too low, though, so we should be okay on that spectrum because we are going to have some moisture around in the morning. By afternoon, though, the wind's still going to be kind of gusty tomorrow, and we'll start to bring in drier air. So, Carl, probably just not the best of days for it. Can you get away with it? Sure, but I do think that we're going to have gusty winds. We'll have gusts over 25 at times tomorrow, so maybe not the best of days to do that. Tuesday would be your better day. Wind does look to back off on Tuesday, if you have the opportunity. Mary asked about Thanksgiving. How's it looking Thanksgiving weekend? Yeah, too early to tell exactly, Mary, but we can look at patterns, like the jet stream patterns, et cetera, to see kind of what we're going to be dealing with around then. And I'm curious with that cold air that's building back towards Alaska and Siberia. It happens this time of year. It does build over there. It gets cold and it snows, right? Alaska gets cold and it snows, but to see kind of a big area coming in there, that's interesting. Yeah, Debbie says they can keep that cold air for all they care. Yeah, Chris asked a good question. So do you think we have a chance of snow this year with El Nino? Chris, I do. El Nino doesn't impact us in my mind as much as it does the West Coast. So El Nino does more dictating in terms of where systems come into the West Coast. Once you get out towards the east, we have a lot of factors that get contributed from the North Atlantic oscillations and North Atlantic blocks. El Nino, to me, we've had all sorts of El Nino winters. Just because the average trend is for a milder winter and technically a drier winter, it doesn't mean that that's the way things are going to end up, all right? Because we've had all sorts of El Nino winters. We've had all sorts of La Nina winters as well. So I don't place a ton of emphasis on that locally. West Coast, sure. But as you get further east and especially further north, the Gulf Coast has a lot to do that. They tend to be wetter during El Ninos. But for us, it's kind of a mixed bag because we have influences from other parts of the world, the globe, and the continent as well. So there's that. So we'll see. It does look like November is going to be a fairly dry month, though, given the fact that, we're in latter half of the month and we've still got a jet stream that's north of us. So we'll see where we go. Yeah, Tanya says snow's horrible for commuting to work. I know. If only we could get to work easily without all the snow. Maxwell says, is this the classic El Nino pattern we're getting into? No, Maxwell, because it changes, it varies. Our El Nino pattern is going to look different in December and January than it does right now. This is a pretty typical El Nino pattern for late fall, right, where we're still starting to flirt with that jet stream, but we're not really seeing the impacts of that yet. It's a little, I would say next month is when we can start to judge whether El Nino is affecting our winter patterns or not. We're just kind of that in between season right now. We're going back and forth still. Derek says, will there be severe weather with this system? Snowstorm? No, Derek, nothing big as of right now. If you're alluding to the system that we have, once things start to change later this month, I would imagine we're going to get some kind of decent snow out of that, whether that stays north of us, whatever it happens to be. But that's going to kick off some kind of storm system. Whenever we have a big ridge of warmth across the eastern half of the country and you have cold air diving into the west, that's what looks to happen later this month. And yeah, that would spin something up for sure. Brandon, I thought you said how strong is El Nino, and it does look like this El Nino is going to be very strong. Not that you asked that. How long is El Nino? It varies. typically it's 1 or 2 years that they last before it kind of flips back. The ocean temperatures flip back. But, I mean, we just had 3 La Ninas in a row. So that was what, 5-6 years of La Nina. So we don't know. We really don't know. But again, I know we're so obsessed with El Ninos and La Ninas and stuff like that. I want to make sure that we don't focus so much on that as we do. Just know that doesn't impact, or that doesn't tell us what kind of winter we're going to have in my mind. All right. Because I've been through a lot of winters that we've been told one thing and we get something else. All right. And that has a lot to do with the fact it's not just the Pacific water temperatures that impact us. It's really not. We have a lot to do with the Atlantic, and the jet stream pattern that sets up out towards our east can block things from moving and cause cold air to dump south. There's all sorts of impacts where we are in the country that don't have to do with El Nino or La Nina and the Pacific temperatures. Okay, so there's that. Derek asked another good question. When can we expect our first winter storm? That's a real good question, Derek. Listen, I would say, and Maxwell says, well said, Matt. Yeah, you're welcome. I try. Derek, I have no idea at this point. No one knows when our first winter storm is going to be. But if I had a hunch, I would say sometime between Thanksgiving and December 1st. That's my hunch, and it's based on what I'm seeing on the modeling now. Okay, so mark it down. What is it? It's November 5th, Sunday. It's 8:26 in the evening, unless you didn't change your clocks and you're all messed up, which I am. But anyway, we'll see. All right, sometime between Thanksgiving and December 1st. And that's not a, what's that called? Farmer's Almanac prediction. That's how they do it. That's just a hunch based on what's happening. Okay, so get back to me if I'm right. If I'm wrong, then you can get back to me as well. Okay, we'll see. All right. Guys, it's been my pleasure tonight. I appreciate you. Again, I'm on paternity leave from work, so I'm not doing weather on TV until I get back, and that's another 4 weeks from now. So you are my weather outlet. I appreciate that very much. And again, I hope these are helpful. I do these for you. This is not for me. I mean, trust me, I don't need to talk weather. I talk it enough with my wife, who just doesn't listen, which is okay. But anyway, I appreciate you being the outlet, and I hope they're helpful to help you get through your week out ahead. And I always like to look long-term as well, because, you can look at models till you're blue in the face, and you need someone to interpret them. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the modeling. Okay. All right. You can find us obviously on the radio side of thing, X-Rock 103.9, Indiana 105.5, and Z 107.1. We do daily forecasts on there. So many of you, thank you so much, have signed up on regionweather.com, your daily email updates. So we'll be sending another one out tomorrow morning. It's real easy. You just click sign up and you get a personalized forecast right to your inbox. You don't even have to open it if you don't want to, but it's there for you with a nice little graphic that we work on. Again, that's regionweather.com. And right off to the right, it says sign up for emails. Okay. All right. You guys have a wonderful night tonight. I hope you enjoyed your weekend, and let's go get that work week out ahead of us. All right.